Someone commented on one of my videos the other day and asked the question about photos, images, so still images on the AX53, on the Sony AX53 camcorder. And I was kind of thinking, well, I haven't really used it that much for still images. What I have used, they look pretty good. So I went out the other day. We just happened to go out to Lee Woods in Bristol, and I just took some pictures of stuff. Now, I can't say that the photography was anything amazing, but I was trying to get a couple of images that would highlight sort of flaws maybe with the camera and weaknesses with the camera compared to, of course, a kind of multi-thousand-pound DSLR camera. But of course, in most cases, people are comparing to maybe an iPhone or something. So I think the conclusion I can reach is that the still images on the AX53 really do compare well to the iPhone. Firstly, because you can zoom in on stuff. I mean, that's a big plus to start with. The zoom and the reach on the AX53 is enormous, and the quality of the images at that reach, at that zoom level, are excellent. And the resolution isn't too bad. I took the pictures at the native 16:9 aspect ratio of the sensor, which gave me a resolution of 3840 by 2160 because it's a 4K sensor on the AX53. The size of the images produced at that we got everything from 2 meg really up to 4.5 meg, obviously depending on how the compression was done, so how much detail there is in the image, how much contrast there is, and what the JPEG compression has to do. Let's take a look in Lightroom at a few of those images. So as I say, again, just to stress, the photography isn't amazing. I'm not going to make any claims that it's wonderful, but you can see here just on this first one that if I zoom in, this is the original. I have graded these, by the way, in Lightroom. So, you know, I have tried to sort of make them look a little bit better, but I would do that with any photos. So it's fine. You know, the original looked like that, and the grade looks like that. I've just kind of, the white balance wasn't quite set right on the camera, so I just sort of done a few corrections to that, dropped highlights down and things. But if you look at the level of detail on this, it's really quite remarkable. It's very, very good. And the other thing you'll notice is because I was really quite close to these leaves here, we're able to drop the background out of focus, even with a small sensor camera. Yes, it's not an incredibly shallow depth of field, but it does give that sort of sharp subject and a softer background, so it's quite pleasing to look at. You notice here on this image that the highlights maybe aren't handled as well as they could, even though I've brought them down. They do start to sort of, it's quite tricky actually, because there was a lot of dark stuff. You know, everything is brown. Everything's, you know, you're looking into the woods, and the background is very dark. But of course, we've got the bright sky lighting these leaves up, which makes it quite tricky to take. But I think it looks pretty good. So if I just go through a couple more of these, if you look at the detail on here, you can see you just got this tiny little cobweb going across here, which looks, I mean, this is the bit that hit the focus point, and the leaf here. I mean, you know, this is a camcorder. I have seen some camcorders take horrendously bad pictures, even though the image out of them was fine. The image, whatever it created as a still image, it's like it kind of took it with the HD sensor, upscaled it to something 5 times the size, and then said, "Oh, I'm actually going to put JPEG compression on that's going to like reduce it down to 20K or something," because it just looked awful. And that's from a reputable brand. I remember a Sony camcorder that just looked terrible, but that was quite a while ago. So going through, yeah, some nice color on these. I just pushed up the vibrance a little bit and adjusted the white balance here too. But look at that background, really, really good. And we got some sort of good, really great detail here on the edge of the wood here on the bark. And again, let's quickly go through it. And a slightly wider shot. Now, wider shots are more difficult in this case because this is all very dark, but the sky is extremely bright. But I think it copes with it well. If you look at the histogram, we've got nothing that's blown out here. We've got stuff that is maybe not as detailed and maybe suffers a little bit up at the top here. The compression really starts to show through. There's a better example of that later on, but you can see that it doesn't look... It's not bad, but if you take it as a whole, as something that you might deliver on sort of Instagram or and view on a phone, I think it's a pretty nice image. And again, here, look at the colors on this. really, really nice colours on the ground here. Despite it being winter, it was pretty colourful day. I think this is quite a nice one as well. We've got sort of a very gentle sort of drop out of focus as we go a couple of maybe a metre back or so. But then we've got our focus line here, so that looks quite nice. A little bit, another slightly wider shot of the tree. Looks good, some good colour here. And this one's all right too. Yeah, we've got some good detail on this. You can see great detail on the tree itself, and then the sky intentionally blown out. You can see on the histogram here, this section is blown out. I've actually done that on purpose because I think it looks more bold. The image looks more bold when you've got this kind of contrast between the browns of the tree and then this kind of blown out section at the top. And moving through, yeah, I'm not going to show I'm going to show you all of these. So I was using this as a selfie camera and sort of just a snaps camera, but some all right stuff. And again, now let's show you where it starts to suffer. So I took a picture here through the trees. Now these kind of shots are really difficult because you can see here that as we zoom in, I think the problem we've got here is that I set this incorrectly and we've got 1/50th of a second and it's had to push the aperture to f8, which is probably too small for the for a camera of this type, and we're starting to get some diffraction occurring, which is really sort of creating a pretty nasty look around, a pretty mishmash sort of look. And that could be diffraction, or it could also just be the JPEG compression causing that. It still looks okay as an image, but it's not as sort of clean and good as the rest of them. Again, boring, nice color, pretty, as I say, boring, quite boring images, but the idea was just testing the camera here. And this one, yeah, the point was to get Kate stood there in the background and just see how dropped out of focus she was compared to the edge of the tree here that I was taking, and just to try focusing on different points within the frame. There we go, just a quick look. I'll just show you one more actually. No, not that one. Where's the other one that was a bright one that I had trouble with? Yeah, see all this, there's so much going on. These are really difficult images to compress because there's so much going on. The camera clearly doesn't have any rotation detection on, but why would it need it, really? Unless you're doing tons of stills with it. I don't think it would need it. That looks quite nice. I love textures of wood and trees and things. It's just a personal thing that I like. Oh, is it this one? Yeah, so this one, again, we've got the same issue. So we're at 7.3 here. So I'm at 50th of a second. I'm absolutely sure I set this to auto, the shutter. I'm certain I did. I don't know whether this is being misreported by the camera in the metadata of the image or what, but I'm certain that I set that to auto at this point. And so therefore I'm not quite sure why we've got this setting showing in Lightroom. But again, yeah, we've got the same sort of, yeah, this isn't fantastic. But if I were to look at an iPhone image that's taken in these extremely tricky situations where you've got the sun coming through in the background, it's very bright sky and trees. I mean, I'm pushing the shadows up here in the image. See, I mean, you look at the detail that you can actually bring back. We just bring the contrast up here. But look, I mean, look at the detail. Look at the color and that we can actually get back from that image if we push the, and this is using a JPEG file, you know, there's no raw image here. It's really quite impressive considering what we're using. So anyway, yeah, that was just a quick look at a couple of still images taken on the AX53. If you do want to download them, I'll export the ones out that I've shown you today. I'm not going to export out the selfies and family stuff. Why would you want to see those? And I will put them online on my website. So I'll put a link to that in the description of the video. And yeah, you can download them. You can have a look, download the raw files, download the processed files, play with them yourself. You know, just take a look at those original images. And I hope that's useful for you. If you're thinking about buying the camera or you're interested in the stills capability of the camera, I hope that might be useful for you. And I will catch you soon. Bye.